How to measure business performance. Obviously, as we discussed and understood in the beginning of this session, that three of the prime concerns which drive me as a nominee director on the board of a company is number one, whether the business has the ability to repay the loan on time on a continuing basis. Number two, whether the business has the ability to service the debt on a continuing basis. And number three, that there is no erosion of the security that the business has given to me for the financial assistance that I have given to that business. Now, the first thing that I need to do and constantly monitor, and as somebody was asking as to what are the things that we can look at so as to ensure that the units which are assisted by us are going in the direction in which we expect them to go, and how do I ensure that everything is well with that company. So what we will need to do for this purpose is to know the tools for measuring the performance of a business. क्या मतलब है कहने का सिंपल सा मतलब ये है कि सबसे पहले whenever I am attending a board meeting or any other committee meeting, or when I am interacting with the CEO or CFO or CEO or the company secretary or COO of the company, I need to focus on the measures for business performance evaluation. Now, so what are the KPIs that I can use for the purpose of measuring the performance of a business? Number one, I can use Abida. And what is Abida? We all understand. Abida is earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. This Abida is also known as cash operating profit. So as a nominee director, as an independent director, whenever I'm attending a board meeting, I need to look at as to how is the EBITDA of this company. If the EBITDA of this company is strong, I can sit back and relax for a while. That if the EBITDA is strong and if it is improving continuously quarter after quarter, that means things are going good with this company. And why do I need to focus on EBITDA, which is also known as cash operating profit? Because ultimately, a business can survive and thrive only when the business has got good EBITDA. If the EBITDA is shrinking or if the EBITDA is stagnant, then it is a trigger for me to become aware that something is wrong with this company. अगर एक कंपनी का EBITDA shrink हो रहा है या एक कंपनी का EBITDA stagnant है, that means this company needs to do something to improve its operations, and that is the first tool to measure the performance of a business, and that is look at the EBITDA. By the way, EBITDA is so important. Just to share it with you, when I was in ArcelorMittal, Mr. Mittal would every quarter send a mail to all the top executives of the company, and I was there with the company for 6 years. That means for 24 quarters, and I would remember in all those 24 mails that we received, Mr. Mittal would highlight three things. And what those three things were, the first was health and safety. So the health and safety in ArcelorMittal was of a paramount importance, as much as this function would directly report to Mr. Mittal. That is the significance and importance given in ArcelorMittal Group to health and safety. Second point that he would highlight was the EBITDA. And the third point that he would highlight is deleveraging. reducing the debt. So that is the significance of EBITDA, as to the CEO of a group like ArcelorMittal in every mail will tell to his top executives, work on EBITDA, work on EBITDA, work on EBITDA. That is the significance. We will also see as to how do we arrive at this figure of EBITDA in a short while. The other measure that is used for the purpose of business performance evaluation, and that is OFCF, operating free cash flow. So how do we find out the operating cash flow? But before that, let me tell you how do we find out the EBITDA. I'm sure all of you are aware in any case, but just to ensure that all of us are on the same page, how do we find out the EBITDA? So from the sales, we minus the COGS, and what we get in our hand is gross profit, and from the gross profit we minus the SG&A, selling general and administrative expenses. So let's say my sales is 1000, my COGS is 400, that means my gross profit is 600. From the gross profit I deduct my SG&A, that is selling general and administrative expenses. What is left in my hand is my EBITDA, and so 400 is my EBITDA, and as I said, this is also known as cash operating profit. So this is how we will calculate the EBITDA. How do we calculate the OFCF, operating free cash flow? Operating free cash flow, we start with the EBITDA. So we take the figure of EBITDA, and let's say the EBITDA of this business is 1000, or maybe we can continue with the same example. So the EBITDA is 400. Now what I will do, I will make minus from the EBITDA, and that is capex. So if there is a capex that I am incurring, let's say of 100, I will minus the capex, plus what I will do, I will also adjust change in my working capital. So in case if my working capital has gone up, I will reduce the this figure of EBITDA by the amount of increase in the working capital. If my working capital has reduced, then I will increase this figure of EBITDA by the amount by which the working capital has reduced. So please remember, friends, reduction in the working capital is a good sign of operating efficiency. So let's say, for example, for all practical purposes, we assume that the working capital of this company has gone down, and which of course is a good sign. So that means this will need to be deducted, and so 400 minus 100, that is 300, plus 200, so that is 500, and this 500, friends, is my operating free cash flow. So this is another measurement for evaluating as to how the performance of a business is moving. So now before I go to the remaining tools of performance evaluation, in case if anyone has a question, you can please ask me.